Okay, live stream ended. I was having a little bit of connection issues from home. I can see that we're trying to get back on, so I'll give it a minute. Sorry about that. There we go. Let's give it a couple seconds. I've been having internet connection issues this week. It's been uh, not fun. It appears I'm back online.
Yeah, I can see it streaming now.
Okay, good. Good. So I'll go over this slide. If you've sent, I'm not sure where we cut off. If you've sent an email to the SF analyst team recently, um, you will have received this auto response from us, um, indicating that we're transitioning to help desk. I'm not sure how many people I lost, so I'm going to hang out here for just a second.
It looks like everybody's joining back in right now, so let's just give it a
Okay,
minute.
I'll just give it a second. Luckily, this live session is going to be re-recorded and then posted given the feedback that we receive online. So we'll have this cleaned up. So just bear with us as we work through some of these fun technical problems.
We're up to 36 right now, but we were at 117 before it went down.
Okay.
Will you share your screens with me?
There we go.
For those of you rejoining us, we are just getting back online and we're giving it just a minute or so here for everybody who was connected to the live stream to reconnect, and we will get started right back up again. Why don't you go ahead and just start with the recap of this page, this slide, Monica,
Okay.
and then we'll
Um,
just keep moving forward.
so I'm not sure at what point I lost you guys, but I was talking about the help desk site and the fact that we're transitioning to the help desk site. So if you've emailed the school finance analyst team lately, you would have received an auto response explaining help desk. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight in the auto response that if you are emailing the team, the analyst is going to create a ticket for you in help desk, and any further communication is going to be sent through the help desk portal. Um, and then eventually the goal is for the SF analyst team inbox to no longer be available to receive external requests so that we can continue on the help desk site. Um, I think that it's a very user friendly program, and it's an opportunity for us to remain transparent and for us to make sure that you are involved and understand at what process, what point your questions or forms or requests are. It's a super useful tool. I'm still learning how to navigate all of the tools within it, but it's got some neat features on our end where we can set up reminders and add attachments. So help desk is the way that we're going to be transitioning soon. So I think we're about halfway what we were before. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. And then again, this is going to be a recorded session, so we'll be able to clean up some of the technical glitches as soon as I can get that posted. School Finance Help Desk, if you have questions regarding anything that you would normally email the SF Analyst inbox for, such as requesting a 915, sending forms or entity profile forms, as well as our favorite split and merge request, you would send that to the Help Desk, and then at that point, the tickets are just going to be divvied up throughout the team. There is one thing that I should mention. If you are going to be submitting tickets through Help Desk, the user has to have an ADE Connect account in order to submit a request. If you do not have an ADE Connect account, or you're not sure if you have an ADE Connect account, you can email the Help Desk implementation team at helpdesk.IT-team@az.gov, and they can help you walk through that process. Upcoming trainings. So in doing today's School Finance Friday, I didn't remember or recognize or realize that on Fridays for the summer, schools transition to the summer schedule, which means most LEAs, especially in rural areas, are off on Fridays. So I did receive some feedback yesterday regarding that, and reminding me about that. So next School Finance Friday will be School Finance Thursday, and it's going to be rescheduled for July 9th. I believe Irene has already updated the website to indicate the updated date. I plan to do an introduction to AzEDS for beginners. I know that we've got a lot of new staff and a lot of new data coordinators, because we get some interesting questions at the beginning of a school year. So I wanted to just provide an opportunity for new data coordinators, secretary, registrars to be able to log in so that we can do the intro to AzEDS for the beginning of the school year. And then that's the perfect time to talk again about calendar submissions, and to kind of go over what we're seeing at that point. As far as trainings for the fall for fiscal year 21, I'm going to leave that open. I am open to feedback and suggestions. Given the climate and the fact that we are unsure of what still, even given the guidance, what is to come for the fall. I'm not sure what we're going to need in the fall. So for right now, we're going to just table that, but I am open to feedback, open to ideas. If there's something that you want to see or something that you want me to revisit, some of the older trainings we are working on getting updated. So if there's something that you'd like to see come from us, please let me know so that we can make sure that that gets done. COVID-19 guidance. The guidance is posted on the School Finance website for School Finance. The updates are time-stamped as usual. Last week, or sometime earlier this week, Irene posted the ASBO AOI presentation that Lyle presented regarding AOI summer school and the additional 0.25 ADM. I recommend going out there and seeing that if that does impact you. If you are an already approved AOI charter or district that will be providing AOI summer school, if that does impact you, I recommend going out there and taking a look at that presentation. Transportation guidance. I know that this may not be the audience for transportation guidance for some of you. But there is some additional transportation guidance, and it is transportation season for School Finance. So if you have additional questions on how COVID-19 has impacted your transportation, please reach out to the SF Analyst team via Help Desk. I think the biggest difference this year is understanding when to update your routes, what vehicles we could use, because your LEA has been impacted by COVID-19 and the fact that you're using those vehicles to continue to provide services to students such as nutrition or homework packets. School finance deadlines, we're coming up towards the end of the year, but That means that the student data or API for fiscal year 20 doesn't close until July 15th, which kind of bleeds into fiscal year 21. So just please be aware that you have until July 15th to continue to submit transactions, and the API will be open until July 15th. The fiscal year 21 payment schedule has been posted. If you go to the school finance website, you'll see the two different buttons for fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21. There is a handy thumbnail there so that you can print this guy out for fiscal year 21. I used this in my last webinar slide. It's worth a mention again about the two fiscal years, fiscal year 20 and 21, how June and July seem to cross over. We've got some important deadlines coming up that you need to be aware of. The API opened on Monday on June 1st, so for you to start submitting transactions for fiscal year 21. And charter estimated accounts for you charters is opening coming on June 15th. And then again, recalc or the API for fiscal year 20 is closing in July 15th, but the new fiscal year for fiscal year 21 starts on July 1st. I hope you followed me there on all of those dates. That was fun. Before closing out the school year for fiscal year 20, I talked about this in my last School Finance Friday webinar. If you didn't have a chance to join us, please visit that link there on the training videos. I did some cleanup on the live version, which was about an hour. Took the Q&A out of there and reviewed some of those slides that I went over for School Finance Friday. A couple important things that I wanted to mention again for closing out fiscal year 20. Please make sure that all of your students are in AzEDS and your ADM is where you expect it to be for closing out fiscal year 20. Be aware of your automatic transactions if that's the way that your SIS is set up. Be aware if that's still being sent because if you're not monitoring it and your SIS is doing what it always does and automatically sending transactions that you may not be aware of, please be aware of what's being sent, because if your ADM is impacted as a result of something that is just automatically sending, we don't want to have to go into possibly having to open up a 915 or having you panicked on the night of July 14th to get some stuff that's cleared out. Please use caution when doing a mass sync or mass republish, depending on the SIS or the depends on the terms that you use. Please use caution when doing that. What I'm talking about that is mass uploading all of your student data, all of your student attendance, and everything that comes with it. Use caution with that. If you've reconciled and your data is already in AzEDS and everything is clean, I wouldn't recommend doing that because we don't. I've seen in the few years that I've been here, I've seen too many instances where the school has just re-synced everything just out of habit, and then your data takes a dive because things didn't appropriately land the way that you expected. Obviously, view your Integrity 15 to make sure that it's clear of errors. And an interesting conversation that I had with an LEA the other day. Please make sure that the students that you expect to be there and the services that they should be receiving are actually on there. Talk to your ELL people. Talk to your SPED people. I know sometimes having worked at a district or a charter and AOI, and I worked at all three of those, the departments can sometimes be a little bit siloed and we don't all talk to each other. But please make sure that you are checking with those people. If their ELL 71 doesn't have the amount of students that they expected or had at the beginning of the year, but you don't have integrity errors, you as a data coordinator may not see, well, there's no integrity errors, but guess what? Your SPED or ELL person's like, oh, I've seen that number dropping, but I didn't think it was a problem. So please make sure that you are reaching out to your departments if you are in different departments within your district to make sure that you've got everything you need for fiscal year 20 before we close that out. Okay, so AzEDS instructional calendar, this isn't new and it seems a little silly defining what is a calendar. When I first started, I thought it was super silly to define what is a bus. But it is school finance and everything is defined in statute. Um, so when I say what is a calendar that we utilize is defined in statute in 15-801. It simply says how many days a school must be, defines a number of school days per week, a 4 or 5, or exceptions for a 3 day. It defines a fiscal year starting July 1, ending June 30th, and then it outlines required holidays that must be observed. There's 4 of them. And this comes into play a little later in some of the slides that I go over for calendars. Why does school finance care about your calendar? Because that's how we calculate your ADM. So your average daily membership is calculated based off of an LEA's 100th day. We can't calculate 100th day if we don't know what your calendar looks like. So that's why school finance is invested in knowing what your LEA calendar looks like, because average daily membership, the formula divides your first 100 days by the student's membership. If you're new here, the AzEDS calendar application is on the AzEDS portal. Fiscal year 21 is up there. I just wanted to point that out. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to point this out for previous years, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. The certified by. The calendar is the first step. Having worked at AzEDS, it's the very first step of transactions that need to be submitted. It's the baseline of all of the data that gets submitted: student membership, student participation in programs. Everything is attached to a begin and end date. So the calendar is super crucial. And if you haven't submitted your calendar at the beginning of the fiscal year, then, and a calendar isn't certified, all of your students are going to fail integrity. So the calendar is very, very important at the beginning of the year. One thing that I did want to point out, this is the 3rd year in AzEDS instructional calendar, is the certified by function. The calendar not only has to be submitted and free of integrity errors, but the calendar also has to be certified by a person of authority. And that's important. And I want to just take a minute there to explain that. When you go to certified by, you'll get a pop-up statement saying, I agree that I'm meeting the requirements for instructional hours and instructional days. And why is that important? If at the end of the year you're lucky enough to be audited by the Department of Education, by the Office of the Auditor General, by your independent auditor, one of the things that they're going to look for and ask for is your school calendar. And if your school calendar doesn't meet the instructional hours, the instructional days as defined in statute, and your name, the person of authority, is the person that certified this calendar, your role became very important. Your CFO is signing off on that audit. Your superintendent is signing off on that audit if there are adjustments to be made at the end of the year. So I just wanted to make sure that you are, as a data coordinator, if you have been given that authority to certify a calendar, that you are aware of that role. So here's what the calendar view looks like if you are not used to seeing the calendar view. Each one of those little green dots and little legends have a meaning behind them. That meaning or descriptor comes from your SIS. Event descriptors, this is just a screenshot of some of the descriptors that are used. Most of the descriptors that are defined are instructional days, weekend days, or other non-session. And this is mapped on the back end within your SIS. So if you're not sure how to do this or how to map that, contact your SIS so that they can work with you on how to enter the event descriptors. Calendar does have its own set of integrity rules. Those are all the 90,000 rules. Calendars also have their own set of reports. I've mentioned time and time again, if you're not new to my training sessions, as a result of every element of data that you submit, there's a report for that. So the same holds true for calendars. And there are integrity rules. Irene, when this first opened, worked very hard to create this refer to integrity reference guide. It talks about each 90,000 rule for the calendars. It's a very useful guide. I will refer to it again in a later slide. So if you're not familiar with that guide, I do highly recommend going through that. Integrity errors. There are a few places that you can identify that there is an integrity error on your calendar. This pre-integrity versus post-integrity. This is a slide within the calendar summary view. You'll see that if your student data, your student information system has made a change and the descriptor did in fact land, if you go to the pre-integrity versus post-integrity comparison, you'll see that descriptor that you sent from your SIS be highlighted red until integrity is able to run for the night. So in this instance, I was able to change another non-session day from August 8th to an instructional date. And then tonight when integrity runs, I would expect for that red to not be highlighted red anymore. Another way that you can see if your calendar has passed integrity is if you go to your integrity summary and you see these red dots everywhere that looks like bingo. That's probably not a good sign, and it indicates that you've got an integrity error on that date, on the very day for that descriptor. So keep an eye on that. So there's a couple places that you can see your results for your integrity. In addition to that, you've got an Integ35, very similar to the Integ15 that you're looking at, where it has the error code and error description for the day. Calendar submission deadline. The API for calendar submissions closes on September 1st, actually the night of August 31st. If you do have to make changes or add a new calendar anytime after that date, such as you have a student that is SPED that begins classes with you after September 1st and you need to add a private day school calendar, you can submit a form so that we can open the API for you. And this slide just indicates that the change has, the API closes specific for calendar transactions. So if you have to change anything after the night of August 31st, you simply need to submit a form so that we can open up the window for you. Top Integ35 errors, interestingly enough, most of them are in regards to holidays. The very first one and top integrity error is only one winter break is allowed. This one is actually triggered by where Monday through Friday you've indicated winter break. Saturday and Sunday your SIS may have hard-coded for you a weekend day. And then you resume winter break the next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That weekend descriptor has broken the winter break timeline, and the system is looking at it as if it's 2 winter breaks. So if you're seeing this and you've done this, please make sure that on the weekend that falls between the winter break, that descriptor for that Saturday and Sunday have been changed to winter break. December 25th, this is also a fun one that we get. December 25th is the only descriptor that can break that winter break timeline. December 25th, Thanksgiving, Veterans, and then 4th of July typically isn't impacted for most schools. Is defined in statute, the statute that I had mentioned earlier on what is a calendar. Those are the 4 holidays that must be observed. So if you are in session during that time frame for Christmas, Thanksgiving, or Veterans Day, please make sure that on those specific days, the calendar descriptor has those days observed. Otherwise, you're going to get an integrity error. If you have questions regarding those integrity error, you don't quite understand what it's trying to tell you, again, the integrity reference guide is very, very detailed and outlines exactly what you need to do to resolve that integrity rule. It's under the Knowledge Center under System Documentation. Charter estimated counts for charter districts. Pursuant to 15-185, a student count for charter schools has to be determined based off of estimated counts for the first payment. We posted a memo recently. If you are a charter district, you also should have received a copy of the memo from the SF analyst team. If you did not, it is posted under our memo section within the school finance website. The estimated counts application is a common logon application, but you can access it via your common logon access or through the AzEDS portal, which will send you to the common logon platform. The application opens on June 15th for you to either manually or upload a text file. The memo on page 4 that I posted in the previous slide outlines the schema that the text file must be if you are choosing to upload a text file. Tip of the day for that one, it is on a SACE platform. He's an old grumpy man. Please don't use Google Chrome because it doesn't play well with Google Chrome. What information are you reporting? You're reporting student demographic information as well as SPED or ELL needs for your charter estimated counts. I highly recommend that you do not report every student and that you're conservative with your estimates. These estimates will then generate the ADM for your first payments. So the way that I like to describe this report is if in the beginning of the year you have indicated that you have, let's just say, 100 students just for rounding's sake, and then come enrollment time in August, September, October, and we're hitting real AzEDS data and we find out you've got 80 students or maybe even 50 students, then your payments not only are not going to be as big as you expected because you've overestimated, the rest of your payments for the next 12 payments till the end of June are going to be adjusted. And so the way that I like to describe this or illustrate it is if at the beginning of the year you determine the size of your pie is a Costco size, you know, the big pumpkin pies during the Thanksgiving season and Christmas season, a big Costco size pie in the beginning of the year, you've said, I've got this amount of students. And then come September, October, November, we realize, ooh, I actually have maybe the size of a Sara Lee pie from Fry's, or I have a size of maybe like a little Hot Pocket pie. You may be in trouble as far as your payments are concerned because those payments or those allocations were already given to you in the beginning of the year. So be conservative, be careful. If you have questions about charter estimated counts, please submit a ticket so that somebody from the team can reach out to you. Payment date, the first charter estimated counts will be for the August 1 allocation. 6:15 the window opens and the deadline for you to make revisions to that is July 10th. If you need additional assistance, please look at our Knowledge Center. We're cleaning that up right now, and we're continuing to post these live sessions on the Knowledge Center once I record and clean them up. School finance memos are still super important and have a lot of useful information as well as our hot topics. And then please try to utilize the help desk platform. It's very user friendly, and that's just the way that most of the departments within the agency are going towards. I will now take a look at some of the questions I have on here. A lot of the first ones are I lost you, so that was fun for a minute. Thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. I really appreciate you logging back in. Is there any way? So first question: is there any word on new way of updating LE profile? Um, yes. So that's actually through the help desk. If you log in through the help desk, and you click on the school finance button, there are these things called what we're calling templates. And if you click on the template for entity profile, it will have all of the same information that you would expect on an entity profile form. So if you have questions on that, I believe that's what you're asking. If I missed the mark on that one, please let me know so that I can get you the right answer. Somebody says, please include the date on School Finance Friday YouTube title. I will take that feedback and make sure to update the date.
Please also note that that these are re-recorded and placed on our website. So you can just go to our website to find the specific webinar or video that you're looking for.
What are the chances of an adjustment to the 64-1 having dates?
We'll have
Um,
to take this question back.
yeah, so the 64-1 is actually a payments report. It's an interesting question. I think will need a little bit more detail, so we can take this to the payments team. If by dates you mean when the allocation is submitted, because that's typically the first of every month. So if you want to provide a little bit more detail, we can make sure to get that to the payments team.
And you can also email them at the email address that was provided in the slide at the beginning.
Lots of we lost you, so hang on. Hi, Drew. I see you. When AzEDS goes down for maintenance, it always starts before the time started on the red flag notice. Please do not interrupt our access before the announced time. I will take that and uh, Irene will send it on over to our AzEDS team.
Yeah, that's not something that we control in school finance. The AzEDS team controls that, but we'll pass along your feedback.
Sorry, guys. Today was super fun on the school finance, the technical glitch. I don't know what happened there, but again, we're going to re-record it and hopefully get it cleaned up for you. So, why is it New Year's Day mandatory? I don't know. That's an interesting question. We just go based off of what statute has outlined for the 4 required holidays. Um, I think for the better part, I can't imagine or think of a single school that has been um, in session on New Year's Day. That seems not fun. Is there clarification if signatures required for charter counts?
I think in the last webinar, what we said was this is what we believe to be true and this is what we've been told within the agency. However, you need to go off of whatever the charter board says. So if the charter board is telling you that that it's required, then you need to require it. And you can go back and revisit that with the charter board. We were just telling you what within our agency we had found when someone else had asked the question. But you'll need to go based off of whatever the charter board is telling you is required.
This is a fun one. Will documentation be updated? We're working on it. We just updated the forms. As you can imagine, it's a slower than we'd like process. There are levels of approval that we need to go through. If there's a specific document that you need to see updated or have questions on, please submit a ticket so that we can provide you that specific guidance for the updated whatever changes have been made.
If this is in reference to the school finance manual, I did just post an update to the CTE chapter. I'm currently working on the AOI chapter and the calendar chapter. So we hope to get those up soon, but please keep in mind that there is several rounds of approval that we have to go through after we get the approval from within our own department that go across the agency and outside the agency. So it does take some time to get those updated, but we are here to answer any questions you might have regarding what is currently out there. So please feel free to let us know what those questions might be.
Hi, Marilyn. I see you. Do you have to use CEC or can you use actual? Can you use charter estimated counts? I'm assuming, or can you use actual counts if you roll over? You can absolutely use your actual counts in AZEDS if you're able to get that information in. Charter estimated counts, we have to be able to allow charters who don't have access to AZEDS because there are a few new charters in the beginning of the year. So if you are at a point that you can use actual counts for the first payment for fiscal year 21, then absolutely. Good question. Marilyn, we've got one more question on what is the link for help desk. I'll scroll back so that we can make sure that we show that there. There we go. So helpdeskexternal.az.gov. Anonymous asks again, 64-1 on the last page, when the adjustment occurred. Thanks for clearing that up. We'll make sure to either take that to the payments team or you can email SF Payments Inbox. So SF, like school finance, payments inbox at az.gov. How far behind is SF with 915s and merging ACE-IDs? Valid question. The 915s with the new staff that we have on board, we have been moving those along like maniacs. If you are not new to school finance, you know that sometimes the 915 can be painfully long and the process can be painfully slow. Um, for the month of March, when we started working from home, internally the team processed just over 6915s within 1 month. That was record processing. Typically for school finance, we're pushing out anywhere from 10 to 15 915s per month. So we are more organized in the 915s and getting those pushed out as quickly as possible. I will say that the challenge has been for us right now is receiving communications back regarding your 915. So if you see a 915 from your analyst team, please make sure that you're responding to those immediately. If the window is open and you've uploaded the information and you're done and you're good to go, you don't need to wait for that window to close. Please email us back and let us know so that we can push that out and do the data push and kick it over to the payments team. Because it is crucial. We do have quite a bit of a backlog for fiscal year 18 and 19. 17, we're trying to close those out. We've got a handful of those that we're still trying to push out. We're reaching the 3-year deadline come June 30th, so there's not a whole lot we can do after June 30th for fiscal year 17. Um, so our focus has been finishing up those handful of 17 915s. But again, if you see something from or communication sent from the analyst team, please please reach out to us and let us know that you're done and stay in communication with us as far as your 915 is concerned. Merging SACE IDs, there's a bit of a backlog. The number's not pretty. I haven't looked at the numbers lately. The team has a goal of pushing out merge IDs throughout the week, but the number's still not pretty. I don't have that number yet. I believe that the last time that we shared that number was at an ASCIS meeting before all of this craziness happened. But it's not pretty. I've got no more information other than it's not pretty.
It does continue to be a focus for the department, though. We are continuing to move on those. Our goal is to get all of the merges that have been submitted through service desk completed first. They're being completed on a first submitted, first worked basis. And we are still moving through those, but admittedly, our focus has been more on 915s and trying to make sure that that they get processed in a timely manner. So we are trying to balance those two priorities.
So Anonymous writes, usually there's an AZEDS person on the meeting to answer questions. Yes, that is true. We are working from home and we've changed the platform of School Finance Fridays. If you found that to be useful, we'll take that feedback. But given the climate, it's a little bit difficult to keep adding people.
We are happy to share your questions with them, though. And if you'd like to get a direct answer from them, you can go through Help Desk to submit a ticket to them as well.
If you direct us to help desk to ask a specific question, everybody doesn't get to hear the answer. Um, I, I'm not sure what specific question we're referring to here. I try to make sure that we're transparent and given the question, if it's something that I think everybody can benefit from, absolutely it's a training opportunity for everyone. I don't disagree. But if the question starts to become a little bit too specific, we want to make sure that we're answering your needs as well and not confusing somebody who maybe not who doesn't have that situation. So we want to make sure that we're trying to be um, as generic or as we can when we're answering questions because there's so many unique LEAs out there. We've got charters and districts and AOIs and all sorts. So we want to make sure that we're answering everybody. Who are the new staff? So I think in the last presentation I did introduce Irene, who's been with us for quite some time now. We've got Kayla, who is newer to the team. Claudia joins us from another agent department within ADE. They've been with us for two, 3 months
Since February.
since February. But if you ask them, they feel like they've been with school finance for years and years and years, just because things change so quickly in school finance and there's so much information to learn. So sometimes we joke that it's like dog ears every day. Where can we find the complete unsegmented school finance procedures manual?
That doesn't exist at this time. It was handed off to me in segments, and we're trying to get those segments updated as quickly as possible so that we can put them all together into one unsegmented document. But for now, all we have is the segments to provide, and we're trying to get those out as quickly as possible.
Is a parent EdFi same as teacher EdFi if the same person? Not sure. That's something not the parent and teacher EdFi IDs is not something that school finance manages. I believe that's STC or highly qualified. So you'll need to reach out to those departments to find that out. If you do have questions, I believe at questions@az.gov is the email that gets you to constituent services, and they'll be able to get you to the right people. That's questions@az.gov. If a 915 is not processed until 2 years past the fiscal year, but it's been submitted in time for positive financial findings, will you get paid? So the short answer, yes. What this anonymous is referring to is the upward adjustment that is allowable for ADM. Should your 915 show that you are have an adjustment for ADM. So if you have a 915 that was submitted and approved within the one previous fiscal year, then you are eligible for the upward adjustment. Good question. Can I show the help desk slide again? Sure, just a second. Let me hide this guy. So help desk external.az.gov.
And that link is also available on the ADE Connect homepage. It also, on that homepage, you can find a training video and a training document that should help to get you started there.
And I think this is last but not least. Oh wait, I may have some more here. A couple more. How do we get into calendar at AZ Connect? Can't find 1920. The platform should still be there via your AzEDS portal. You just have to select the drop down for the fiscal year. Let me show that again. Lots of we went offline. In regard to calendars, if a district goes to 4 day a week, how many days are students required? So this question is specific to the amount of days a student needs to be in school for instructional time, but statute actually refers to instructional hours. So please make sure per the grade level that you are meeting the instructional hours for the students rather than focusing on the days of the week. If you have a more specific question or you want us,
Yeah,
um,
I'd recommend you email this to us directly so that we can communicate with you on that and make sure we get you the proper answer to that. I want to take a look at the statute because as far as I can see, it in statute in 901 it reads 180-day school year or the instructional hours prescribed in this section, but it doesn't refer to 144 in that same sentence or area. Not to say that you're wrong, but I'd like to have an opportunity to run that up and just double check and make sure for you. So if you wouldn't mind sending us an email or sending us a ticket with that, we can get that answer to you. And if people are interested in the response to that, we can also share it in the next School Finance Thursday. Sorry.
and I think that's it for today. If you have specific questions regarding your LEA, please make sure to submit a ticket to Help Desk and we can make sure to answer that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on a Friday, who some of you pointed out is your day off. Next month on Thursday, we'll get it right. I appreciate all of your questions. I appreciate all of your feedback. Uh, Please have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.